The national debate over reparations for slavery reached a historic milestone this month as Asheville, North Carolina became the very first city in the South and only the second in the nation to formally approve financial restitution for black residents. Tonight, we take a closer look at what the so-called reparations would actually mean and ask, could the city be possibly a model for the rest of the country? Here's ABC's Devin Dwyer.
In the heart of the Blue Ridge Mountains, Asheville, North Carolina is a bohemian retreat.
It's become a bit of a mecca for people to gather that have a more, liberal sensibility.
The city's arts and architecture scene drawing tourists from all over the country.
We have a very diverse culture here to where it's not like any other county that's near here.
Its unique history also reflected in a shrouded monument towering above downtown. A granite obelisk erected for a local Confederate leader and slave owner, now a symbol of racial justice and demands for change.
Where this monument is used to be the market where they would trade slaves at.
Just before the Civil War, public records show 283 white residents in Asheville owned more than 1,900 slaves. Asheville native Rob Thomas says the time has come for reparations.
A lot of people say, well, slavery, I wasn't around, you wasn't around. Okay, but what about how we have been systematically oppressed and our economic floor destroyed nationwide through different government programs, policies, procedures, predatory lending, redlining, block busting. I mean, the list goes on.
Asheville City Council this month voted to remove the monument and to formally apologize for the history it represents.
Do we have a motion to adopt the resolution?
A reparations resolution, which passed unanimously, promises financial restitution for slavery and decades of discrimination that followed.
A lot of people just think reparations is about writing a check, and that's not what this is about.
The City Council says a commission will develop plans to promote black home ownership and business opportunities, but the amount of investment is still unclear.
What we have committed to do in this resolution is invest in and create systems and programs and structures that will allow those community members to have the same opportunities for economic mobility, to build generational wealth that white people have.
The city says it won't raise taxes to pay for the programs and also won't make direct payments to descendants of Asheville slaves. Residents are sharply divided.
If you're going to pay reparations for all the things that we now judge to be bad or wrong, the Roman Empire would have to, Greece would have to pay back the world.
Well, in order to get over it, you got to go ahead and do something about it. So in my mind, it's a great thing that they did something about it.
There is not racial equity in Asheville by any stretch of the imagination. We are the poster child for segregation.
The median income for all Asheville families is over $42,000, but for black families, it's just $30,000. The wealth gap is even more staggering. Nationwide, the net worth of a typical white family today is 10 times greater than that of a typical black family.
This used to be all owned by black people.
Advocates say urban renewal programs have compounded the problem, uprooting black families and businesses, including many along Asheville's historic Eagle Street. Thomas says redlining by banks, the denial of loans to creditworthy people of color, kept many from coming back.
Now, black people can't even afford to be on this block. That's right.
The protests for racial justice this spring brought Asheville, like so many other American cities, to a boiling point. Black and white voices shining a light on the legacy of slavery and Jim Crow, pressuring local leaders to address the racial economic divide. Providence, Rhode Island, and Richmond, Virginia, the former Confederate capital, now looking to follow Asheville's lead. Last year, Evanston, Illinois, became the first U.S. city to fund reparations for black residents.
How are we going to go about doing this in a meaningful way?
You want to see actions, not just words.
Correct. You'll have payments that go to individuals where they may be de minimis at best, and then they are also still under the control of a government entity, as opposed to allowing the people themselves to use those funds in a way that benefits them best.
Several leading economists say direct payments to African Americans are the most fair and effective way to bridge the wealth gap, which some estimate at $13 trillion.
these local efforts of atonement, however well-intentioned and however desirable, are not reparations by any means.
Duke economist William Darity says the federal government should reimburse Black Americans for slave labor, just as they paid Native Americans for their land and Japanese Americans for the indignity of internment camps during World War II.
And the federal government is the culpable party because of its historical complicity in the process of maintaining slavery. Most of these local initiatives are a variety of forms of pulling the knife out, which is essential, but it's very, very different from healing the wound.
He's right. This isn't reparations in its truest form. But in order to reach what he is talking about, first we have to do it on a local level.
As some cities move forward, reparations proposals in Congress have so far failed to gain widespread support. Just 31% of Americans in a recent ABC News Washington Post poll back direct payments to descendants of slaves. Most Americans, 63%, are opposed.
And when you talk about making restitution, how do you make restitution for folks that are not here? People that were hurt are gone. People that helped are gone. And so, in my opinion, we ought to look toward the future and work from here and quit dealing on the past.
You all kind of agree with that this is sort of a misplaced, both for financial reasons and for historical reasons?
I would say yes. None of us were there. We weren't involved in it, so why should we pay?
Resistance to reparations comes as some white Asheville residents say the death of George Floyd in police custody this spring led to an epiphany.
It was just such a bold and unmistakable example of the kind of brutality that has been happening for centuries.
David Greenson spoke out in favor of reparations before the city council, making a moral case.
White people in this country need black people to get reparations because to the extent that we have been complicit in this happening, then we carry the moral injury of that.
For now, Asheville's history-making step is mostly just words on paper, a blueprint for reparations the city hopes others can follow.
The lesson I would hope other local governments take is you can do this. It's not just about writing a check. Don't let yourself get boxed in by people who want to box you in that way. Look at the broader system and look at what you can do to enhance investments.
Until those investments come, Rob Thomas says he'll keep up the fight. The community that made him now depending on him.
What made me is all the seeds that my elders planted in my head as a youth that I didn't listen to at the time. And then once I was able to cultivate my mind and actually feed those seeds with the proper nourishment, now I have these beautiful trees and bushes that are producing the fruit that you see today.
For ABC News Live, I'm Devin Dwyer in Asheville, North Carolina.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.